what about the responsibility of the vendors you work with? I know I do a lot of federal contracting, and when we have a blanket, an IDIQ this large, I'm very familiar with it. We're required as a small business vendor, one, to get training. We have to learn how to work with the system. Two, we have to submit a spending plan. And three, every time we invoice, we have to demonstrate that we're charging against the ceiling. And if we're coming close, we know by default that I have to provide them with a 30-day notice for a change order, or I stop working because I'm working at risk. I think it's beyond just having internal training for your team. If the vendors don't also have training in ethics, then, I mean, I've never worked with any big organization that just lets me keep charging with no accountability. I mean, I get scrutinized for overspending $200. So I think the process should include also training the vendors, not just the staff.
Agreed.
Yes.
And you will not get my support for this.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes, let me make sure I understand how this works. You had a contract for $49,750,000. That contract has expired.
Yes, sir.
We have now executed a new 3-year contract for $71 million. Is it with the same supplier, or is the $71 million with a different contractor completely from the original one?
The new contract has the same 3 suppliers as the previous contract.
As the same supplier?
Yes, sir.
And so we were doing, I guess, and what I used to do, a kind of an audit at the end of the contract period to make sure everything was okay, and you came up with this $3.6 million gap. Is that right?
Yes, sir. We had actually gotten an aging report from our contractor, which was really the first time they had even they even made us aware that they did not have payment for, invoices that some of them were as old as 270 days old.
So this will close out then the 59 or the $49 million contract. This will totally close it out.
This will completely close it out, and we are confident that there will be no other charges on the,
So you should get some kind of a legal sign-off then that contract is now closed and fully funded and behind you. And then, as Trustee Gonzalez mentioned, it's not only a matter of training our internal folks, but also making sure that training extends to the contractors, because they should be monitoring the same thing. Make sure there's plenty of room left inside that contract for whatever work they're doing. So, okay, well, I just want to make sure I understood the process.
But that is an excellent point. That is an excellent point, that whatever comes out of this meeting, if it's supported by the fellow board members, that they do acknowledge that this is final payment.
Yeah, you need that.
You need that. I'm required to do a project closeout. We're required to do a project closeout with every IDIQ that says we owe 0 to SAIC or LEDOs. So we need a project closeout checklist, whatever that means, documents, technical documentation, invoices, whatever is associated with that deliverables, then they must sign off, including the invoice payment, the final payment.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Any other board members? I do have a question. What are the 3 suppliers that we have that we're talking about?
It is Chain Electric, Pike Electric, and Greenstone.
I'm torn now, because I've been through this 3 times. In my 18 years, I've been through this 3 times, and I really want to say something, but I don't want to say it because it's not, I've seen it happen with 3 different districts that went under, and I had to come in and stop that because you did not follow your own policy. If you follow your policy, this will not happen. And it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen on our side, and a supplier should not do work without the proper invoice. to do the work, and we should not issue that until we have the funding available. I don't know how, I've seen it happen, and it just disappoints me because it should never happen. It should never go forth. You should never go over budget on this. You asked us before you go over budget, but not after you go over budget on this right here. So this is something that I've seen happen 3 times, and it just disappoints me to see this. I'm disappointed about it. Thank you. Okay. But thank you for your presentation, and thank you for your honesty, because I appreciate that. And letting us know up front, because we need to know things like that, because we can make better decisions when you give us good information. But in some way, we need this to come back to us, that this will not tell us it's not gonna happen again, but show us in the policies and procedures how this effectively should be operated, run, and it not happen. Because I can tell you several months ago when CPS hired a supplier to do some work in my neighborhood, and they came through my yard, and I told them, do not tear my irrigation pipes up. They tore up 10, cost me $282 that I had to pay for their work for a subcontractor. And I don't think that's right if any other customer go through that kind of work right there. And I did report it that same day. I reported ahead of time, and I asked everybody not to tear it up, and they did. But I'm just saying, that's not the kind of work that represents this company when we say people first and we take care of business. We don't do that. So I'm just disappointed, but I'm very delighted that you're telling us the truth, that we can make a good decision. So thank you for that. On behalf of that, I appreciate that.
I understand, and I appreciate it. Thank